A young black boy calls a billionaire to report that his daughter is lying unconscious on a busy city street. 10-year-old Malik knelt beside a pale girl who was struggling to breathe. Crowds passed by, some murmuring it was likely another overdose, others shaking their heads as if she wasn't worth helping. But Malik stayed. He gently tilted her head back, gripping her cracked phone tightly as he dialed the number glowing on the screen. Dad. When Richard Callahan, one of the nation's wealthiest men, answered, his first words were cold. "Is this some kind of scam?" Yet the fear in the boy's trembling voice held a truth no lie could mimic. Within minutes, a black car stopped sharply at the curb. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe. Your support helps us share more meaningful real-life stories like this one. Now let's begin. The late afternoon sun dipped low, tinting the city in gold. The streets buzzed with hurried footsteps, blaring horns and commuters rushing to their evening trains. No one noticed the girl at first. Just another figure slumped on the pavement, pale and still. People walked by as if she were invisible. Two businessmen looked down, shook their heads and kept moving, assuming she was just another addict. But one boy noticed. He was small, maybe 10, wearing an oversized hoodie clearly meant for someone older. His sneakers were scuffed, and his backpack hung loosely on one shoulder. On his way home from an errand, clutching a half-empty juice box, Malik noticed her stillness. Something about it felt wrong. He hesitated. His heart pounded. People usually ignored him on these streets, or worse, assumed the worst. He'd been told many times, "Mind your business, kid." But this didn't feel like something he could walk away from. Malik crouched beside the girl. Up close she seemed younger, barely a teenager, pale with light hair tangled across her face and lips drained of color. Her chest rose faintly, shallow and uneven. His hand shook as he reached out, recalling something he'd once seen on TV. Tilt the head back, check for breathing. He whispered softly, "Come on, don't give up. Just breathe." Around him the city moved on. A few strangers muttered as they passed, "Probably another overdose. Kids wasting their lives." They had no idea she was the daughter of a man whose name could buy half the street they walked on. To them, she was just another body on the pavement. Then Malik noticed the phone beside her, its cracked screen faintly lit with a missed call, the name flashing across it. Dad. He froze. His throat tightened. Should he call? Would anyone believe him? He looked at the crowd, then back at her. No one else had stopped. No one cared. With trembling fingers he picked up the phone. It felt heavier than he expected, cold in his palm. He wiped his hand on his hoodie and pressed the number. A dial tone. Then a deep, impatient voice answered. The boy's voice cracked as he spoke. "Sir, your daughter's on the ground. She's not waking up." The line crackled faintly. Then came a voice that made people instinctively sit up. Deep, calm, but edged with impatience. "Who is this?" The boy tightened his grip on the phone, his thumb brushing against the cracked screen. He stammered, his words unsteady. "Sir, your daughter—" "She's on the street. She's not moving. She won't wake up." There was silence on the other end. Not empty, but heavy, as if the man was choosing each word carefully. Then the voice returned, sharper this time. "Is this some kind of joke? Do you even know who you're calling?" The boy's chest tightened. His first instinct was to hang up. But one glance at the girl's shallow breathing kept him there. He swallowed hard and forced his voice to steady. "I don't want anything, I promise. Please, just come. She needs help." A couple passing by slowed down, eyeing the boy crouched over the girl, phone to his ear. They whispered just loud enough for him to hear, probably calling his buddies. "It's a setup." "Yeah, that's how they do it. Distract you while the others move in." The boy squeezed his eyes shut, fighting the flush of frustration. He wanted to shout that they were wrong, but he didn't. He stayed by the girl's side. Meanwhile, the billionaire's doubt lingered. He had heard every scam possible. Fake kidnappings, ransom schemes, staged emergencies. In his world, trust was rare. But something in the boy's trembling voice carried a sincerity that couldn't be faked. The billionaire's tone softened slightly. "Where are you?" The boy quickly listed the cross streets, glancing around to be sure he got them right. His heart raced with every passing second. He could hear the girl's weak breathing grow uneven. Her hand twitched once, then fell still. "Stay there," the billionaire ordered. The line went silent. The boy slowly lowered the phone, his small chest rising and falling too fast. Around him, people kept walking. Some glanced his way. Most didn't. One man shook his head and muttered, "Poor kid. Doesn't even know what he's caught up in." Still the boy stayed where he was, kneeling, one hand hovering protectively near the unconscious girl, as if shielding her from a world too distracted to care. In the distance, faint at first but growing louder, came the sound of tires cutting through the street. Fast, deliberate, closing in. An engine roared closer until a sleek black car appeared, its polished surface catching the last of the sunlight like metal. It swerved to the curb with a sharp, controlled stop that made people turn their heads. The doors opened in swift, practiced motion. Two men in dark suits stepped out first, scanning the area with alert precision. Then, from the back seat, emerged a tall man in a tailored navy suit. His presence commanded attention immediately. The billionaire himself. He didn't rush. He walked forward steadily, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement, eyes locked on the boy. For a brief moment his face hardened, suspicion tightening into anger. To him it looked exactly like his worst fear. His daughter lying motionless, a stranger beside her. The boy lifted both hands quickly, the phone still in his grasp. I didn't hurt her," he stammered. "I just stayed." His knees trembled, but he didn't move away. The billionaire dropped down beside his daughter, the controlled expression on his face breaking as soon as he saw her pale features. "Emily?" he whispered, his voice soft, stripped of authority. He reached for her wrist, searching for a pulse. There it was. Weak and faint, but still there. One of the bodyguards murmured, "Sir, medics are on their way." Moments later, paramedics pushed through the gathered crowd, carrying red medical bags and a stretcher. Before they began their work, the boy spoke quickly, his words spilling out. "She was breathing funny. I tilted her head like they do on TV so she could breathe better. I kept her that way." The paramedics checked her condition fast, exchanging quick nods. One looked at the boy and said firmly, "Good job, kid. You probably stopped her from choking." The billionaire froze at those words. His eyes moved from the paramedic to the boy. His face, one used to skepticism and control, softened slightly, enough that even his guards noticed. He didn't speak. He simply stepped back as the medics lifted his daughter onto the stretcher, attaching monitors and quietly exchanging updates. The boy remained kneeling on the pavement, dirt smudged across his hoodie. People nearby whispered again, but this time their tone had changed. "Isn't that the billionaire's daughter?" one murmured. "Wait, did that boy save her?" He didn't look like much, just an ordinary kid. But the billionaire's gaze lingered. For the first time in years, he didn't know how to define someone. Not as a threat, not as a beggar, not as a scammer. Just a child who hadn't walked away when everyone else did. As the stretcher moved toward the ambulance, the billionaire followed closely, his hand hovering near his daughter's arm. But when he looked back, his eyes met the boy's. And this time, he didn't look away. The hospital air was cold and sterile, filled with the quiet hum of fluorescent lights. The billionaire paced the waiting area like a man trapped in his own thoughts. His polished shoes clicked sharply across the floor, stopped, then started again. Each pause carrying the weight of helplessness, a feeling he wasn't used to. The boy sat against the wall on a plastic chair, his legs swinging nervously above the ground. His hoodie sleeves were pulled over his hands, and every so often he glanced toward the double doors where the medics had taken the girl. He didn't speak. He didn't move much. He just waited. Two women near the vending machine whispered, their voices cutting through the quiet. "That's him, the billionaire, right? Always in the news. And that kid, he's the one who found the girl, isn't he? Strange how things work out." The boy heard them. He lowered his gaze, his shoulders sinking as if their words were too heavy. Minutes passed, stretching into what felt like hours, until the double doors finally opened. A doctor stepped out, mask hanging loosely around his neck, fatigue visible on his face. The billionaire approached him immediately. "How is she?" "She's stable," the doctor replied firmly. Relief moved through the room like a quiet wave. If she hadn't been kept in that position until we arrived, the outcome could have been much worse. Whoever did that gave her the time she needed. The billionaire turned slightly, his gaze finding the boy, still seated quietly, small and patient. The truth settled deeper. This child, a stranger, had done what a whole crowd hadn't. He walked toward the boy, slowly, deliberately. The boy straightened, clutching the edge of his hoodie, his voice soft. "I just didn't want her to die alone." The billionaire stopped. Those words cut through layers of pride and doubt he hadn't realized he carried. His chest tightened, his throat dry. For the first time in years, he felt something beyond control. Humility. Around them, the room fell silent. People watched the unlikely pair. A man who had everything, and a boy with nothing but courage. The billionaire didn't speak right away. He quietly sat down, lowering himself into the chair beside the boy. His eyes stayed fixed on the double doors, but something about him had changed. No longer towering, no longer distant. Side by side, they waited in silence. Two lives connected by one girl's heartbeat. When the doors opened again, it wasn't the doctor who appeared this time. It was the billionaire's daughter, resting on a rolling hospital bed. Her skin was still pale, but her eyes were open, blinking against the light. Relief spread across the billionaire's face like sunlight breaking through clouds. He reached for her hand the moment he was allowed near, his voice quiet, trembling in a way no one in his boardrooms had ever heard. "You're safe now," he whispered. But his eyes drifted toward the boy sitting quietly at the back of the room, small, hesitant, unsure whether to stay or slip away unnoticed. The billionaire stood. He cleared his throat, and the room turned silent. With steady steps, he crossed to the boy. Then, to everyone's surprise, he knelt down to meet him at eye level. His suit wrinkled, his polished shoes scuffed against the hospital floor. But he didn't care. "This boy," the billionaire said, his voice calm but filled with respect, "is the reason my daughter is alive." Murmurs spread quickly through the room. "He saved her." That kid. Unbelievable. Reporters who had quietly entered the hallway began scribbling notes, cameras flashing subtly. And this time, the billionaire didn't stop them. For once, he wanted the world to see. The boy's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. His hands fidgeted at the sleeves of his hoodie, unsure how to handle the sudden attention. The billionaire placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You'll never be forgotten," he said softly, meant for the boy, yet loud enough for everyone to hear. The moment settled deeply into everyone's memory. The billionaire's daughter smiling faintly from her bed, her father kneeling before a boy who had nothing to his name but courage, and yet had given them everything. And that's how one small act of bravery changed a billionaire's world forever. If this story touched you, don't just scroll away. Tap that subscribe button so you never miss a story like this again. And if you believe even the smallest act of kindness can change a life, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today.